going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with my sort of double first place Marincess deck profile for this last weekend. We actually held two different case tournaments, Saturday and Sunday. Before I sort of talk about that, I do want to just sort of apologize in advance. Like, my allergies have been kicking my butt all day, so if I sound a little different in this video, sorry for that. Talking about this last weekend, we had a case tournament Saturday and Sunday. And I'm going to put up like information on the screen here for you guys to see, but this was a lot of rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm talking, I played 16 rounds, I believe, of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is more rounds than a YCS. Like, Sunday I played 9 rounds, which is as long as like a really long regional. So there were a lot of rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, these were big events in theory, just because there was so much Yu-Gi-Oh! to be played. And on Saturday, we had just about 50 players, which is a very, very large, like, local event. You know, this isn't like a Konami sanctioned regional, right? We just had 50 players from people coming out of town and things like that to play on Saturday for the Power of the Elements case tournament. And on Sunday, we had just about 40. I think it was right under 40 at 39 players, but these were pretty large events and there were just so many rounds. So there's no way I could remember all of my rounds. I was just like, I wasn't writing them down like I probably should have been. And I can't remember every matchup. Like, I remember some of the important ones, but if I can't remember them all, I don't even really want to go through them. I remember playing like Despia a lot of Fluanderies. Oh my goodness, I had to fight through so much Flunder, guys. Drytron notably. I played against like the zombie punk stuff. You know, a lot of like really powerful decks. It was actually surprisingly a lot of Agnister, a lot of Marincess. So yeah, there was a good, you know, lots of different variety of decks. And yeah, so day one, I got first in Swiss going 5-0-1. I drew against a Despia player. Day two, or excuse me, still part of day one, so I was first after Swiss, and then we play out into top 8, which is the 7th round of the day. And I won my match against, who did I play in top 8? I don't even remember. Dang. Oh, I played against my friend Lindsay in top 8, who was on Fluanderies, and we were able to pick it up. And then at top 4, we split. So 7 rounds, day 1, we split the prizing. So yes. And then day 2, we had 6 rounds of Swiss again, and I went 6-0, so first in place after Swiss again. And then we go into top 8, in which I beat Agnister. Then we go into top 4, in which I beat Fluanderies again. What a nightmare matchup. And then in the finals, I actually lost to my friend Levi on Drytron. So Levi won the event after Top Cut, you know, not Swiss like I did. I beat him in Swiss, but he did get me back in the final. So his profile will also be up on this channel soon. But yeah, that sort of covers the event, and you know, I'm gonna have the information on screen there. But yeah, shout out to the sponsor, Steel Fox Games, you know, big shout out to them. And without further ado, I'm going to do this profile sort of quick because it's very similar to my other Marincess profiles. There are literally hundreds on this channel, it feels like. But yeah, sort of double first place, huge weekend Marincess deck profile. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so we have profiled Marincess like 100,000 times. I'm not going to go super in-depth in this profile. If you want to see a very in-depth profile, I have like 3 or 4 other first place Marincess deck profiles here on the channel. But this has a lot of changes like ready-made for POTE in the list, which is nice. And talking about, you know, Power of the Elements going forward will be present in this profile as well. So that will be the more relevant parts of this profile compared to others. But yeah, starting off with, of course, 3 Blue Tang. Nothing special here. Blue Tang, obviously the best starter in the deck. You know, Blue Tang, she's just really nice. She's nice. Next, we have 3 Spring Girl and 3 Pascalis, which 3 Pascalis, you know, some people are not on it. They say it's a lot, which I can understand, but there are so many hands I open where Pascalis is the only Marincess I have in hand, and I always imagine it as the 3rd Pascalis because the hands that really stink in Marincess are when you draw like 5 flex spots. You want some engine, and Pascalis is engine. She is a Link 4 on her own that can still like let you recycle your engine as well. So yes, something like a 3rd Pascalis is something I really like just to see playable. But also Pascalis is just like, being level 4 is super good for Bahamut Shark plays, and she's like the best follow-up in Grave, so I really adore Pascalis. She's a great card, and I do opt to play 3. Next we have our 3 beautiful Marincess Seahorse Starlight Rare. This card is still phenomenal. Her and Blue Tang are like the only 1-card starters that essentially let you get to your field spell if that's what you desire, so I really like that. Seahorse also has a great grave effect for specifically like the Fluandereeze matchup. It comes up the most because you have to play without a normal summon essentially, and Seahorse is really nice for that. So yeah, just a fantastic extender, and of course it's a starter. So one Sleepy Maiden, you have to play this for like your one card Blue Tang plays. So Sleepy Maiden, of course, also she's just like one of the best cards. You can play around Ghost Ogre on your Anemone with her, and her grave effect is phenomenal. Next we have, for some more Marincess cards, we have the 1 Battle Ocean, 2 Dive, and the 1 Wave. I feel like this is very standard, like ratio lineup for Marincess. People ask me all the time, why not 2 Wave? This card is terrible to draw, like in every situation. You don't want to see it going first because it doesn't help you like actually play through interrupts. It's like an okay card if you draw it going first. It's not like terrible. It's not something you want to see. And then going second, it is abysmal because it's not a hand trap. It doesn't help you play through a board. It's actually just like a blank in your hand. So yeah, you'd rather be searching this card. You don't want to see it. Seeing it off Blue Tang is nice, but not worth playing like 2 of it. And yeah, this ratio is, I don't want to say solved, but this is something a lot of people are playing, and it's pretty standard, I'd say. Next up, 3 Signet Mining. This, again, is pretty standard. Like, Signet Mining isn't the best card in this deck because it's not like you add Gazelle, who then just specials himself for free. But it is, again, more copies of a starter, which you just want to see playable in most of your games. So 3 Signet Mining, very nice to see playable. It does come up where you can discard a monster and then add Spring Girl, and you can have an extender in that case, in case your normal summon got Book of Moon or banished off Mirror Jade or something like that. But yeah, you have to play the 3 Mining, and it often gets sided out, especially go second. Going first, I keep them in. Going second, it is almost always out of my deck. Then we have 2 Pot of Desires. This card is fantastic. It's essentially just 2 free cards. Like, you don't want to banish your field spell, you don't want to banish your wave. So when you have to start with Desires and you end up banishing one of those, it can stink, like especially banishing wave. That one hurts the most. Most of the time you're using this after your combo to find like 2 additional hand traps or more engine for follow-up. Going second, it helps you find, you know, board break cards and like Forbidden Droplet, namely. And then just running this means you have a higher chance of seeing side deck cards game 2 and 3. So this card's insane, definitely worth running. You really don't care about your banishes except like Wave and Battle Ocean, which aren't even like super big deals if you lose them. Next, we have some one of good card stuff, like good stuff cards, I should say. I think I said that backwards, but we have the 1 Monster Reborn, which is insane for playing around Nib. Fantastic extender. It's just like better than Designator when you're playing around Nib because 1, I don't have to run Nibiru. 2, this card is legit just better than Cross-Out Designator. Like 50% of the time you see Cross-Out Designator, it does nothing, while Monster Reborn's always going to do something. So yeah, Monster Reborn's the better card, and it still plays around Nib. Fantastic. Of course, the 1 Called by the Grave. And Cosmic Cyclone was actually just the best card in my deck. I mean, that's not true, you know, it was definitely Blue Tang. But Cosmic Cyclone won me so many games. Like, it just deals with, I actually got Mystic Mind, and the Cosmic Cyclone came up to be the out to Mystic Mind, and it let me win that game that I otherwise would have lost. This thing was hitting random trap cards. It was good set going first. There were some situations where this was my only out to like beat a board, so I really like the Cosmic. I was considering Crosswipe, as I have in the past, but no, I think like overall Cosmic Cyclone has been working better for me. It's just like a really good card. So there's a lot of decks that set cards even if they're like monster heavy decks that set up monster heavy negates, but like, you know, Sword Soul's a great example where you can hit the blackout, things like that. On to the go second cards essentially. Most of it's super standard, but there is something I really want to talk about. So we're going to start with the 3 Ash Blossom. Nothing to talk about here. She is, you know, the standard hand trap. I think she actually loses a lot of efficacy going into Power of the Elements, to where a lot of my newer lists, I don't even think are running Ash 100% of the time. And, you know, that's going to need more testing. We're very fresh into the format, but Ash is definitely something I think gets weaker later on. So, 3 Effect Veiler. That's pretty standard. 3 DD Crow. So this was sort of a call, like, this card going into Power of the Elements is absolutely insane, right? Like, this is going to be a main deck staple for many different decks. For me, this tournament, it was more about, like, we were going into a very large locals, and I knew a lot of my locals were on things like Despia. A lot of people were on Eldritch. You know, Marincess was going to be popular, so this card's insane versus all those matchups, and I chose to make 3 of it over a card like Nibiru because I didn't feel like Nibiru was going to be very good at this event I was going to. And I think overall I was right, but I did draw this card against Fluandereeze, and it was terrible, but Nibiru also would have been terrible in that situation. Then we have the 3 Infinite Impermanents. So that's like 12 hand traps. And nothing super like spicy here, that those are just like standard. Like the Crows were spicy for this event, but going forward they're going to be so much more standard. And then Forbidden Droplet. So this is a 40 card list, and mostly because I want to see Droplet going second. I've said that in a few profiles, and like my opinion on that hasn't really changed. There are some board states in the game that I'm not going to lie that you cannot win the game without a card like Forbidden Droplets. Like, you just can't do it. There are some game states where you need Forbidden Droplet to win. Like, there's very few cards that could have helped you otherwise, especially as a 6th. And that's like certain Scythe boards that are really, like, a Chalice won't do it because they have another negate. Certain like damage step tricks with this card is also like a win condition. And like, you're a 1-card starter deck, so seeing this card is fantastic. So we're on 40. This is a 40 card list. I think almost every Marincess list is on 40, but one of my big reasons is to draw Forbidden Droplets as often as possible. Like, I see a lot of lists not play this card, which is why I'm bringing this up. Like, namely Elijah Green's list wasn't on it. I've seen a few other profiles not on this card, and this card is bonkers. And like, going first, it's free because you get a lot of equip spells. So I've been able to like essentially get rid of equip spells for free negates on a board, which I think is really nice. But yeah, Forbidden Droplets at 3 of. This card is just phenomenal. Going on into our extra deck, we do have, you know, our 2 little tokens here. This deck doesn't make tokens, so these don't come up, but they're field centers too, so that's very nice. On to the extra deck, we have the 2 Blue Slug, which, you know, pretty standard. This is almost always a 2 of. The 2 Sea Angel, which 100% just like comes up. Like, the more I test 2 Sea Angel, the more I'm like, yeah, this is the way. I make the second one so often because something happens to my first one, or we're just in a weird grind game, and I don't want to bounce it back to extra deck from grave. So 2 Sea Angel, I'm really glad I spend my like last flex spot on the Sea Angel slot. 2 Coral Anemone, this is also very standard. The Triangle, the Marbled Rock, nothing to see here. The Bubble Reef, and the Argonaut. I mean, these are like the very, like, again, a very standard extra deck lineup. No Crystal Heart is always something I guess I'll keep mentioning. I haven't been on Crystal Heart since the deck essentially came out, like after the first week. While people were still testing, I was like, yo, this card is kind of not that great. And since then, I've seen a lot of people follow suit, whether like on their own opinions where they found that it was bad, or they saw my video and they were like, yeah, I kind of agree. Either way, a lot of people are not on Crystal Heart anymore. It's not a bad card, but I just don't think it's necessary. 1 Splash Mage, which is very, very important, and the 1 Area. You don't really have to play Area, but I think she's really good to play, and she really helps in the mirror match. She'll just win you the mirror match on your, like, on its own. I did play a mirror match on Saturday, and she came up and she just won me the game. Like, through Nibiru, which was great. Then we, of course, have the Bahamut Shark and the Totally Awesome. Of course, you're playing these. It's an insane package. And then who's always, like, the MVP in my eyes is Kragan. He doesn't come up near as much as Toad, so I say the MVP, but, like, you go for Toad more often. However, Kragan just, like, wins games where you shouldn't. Like, he puts, like, the last bit of damage on board to win some games. He's really good against Flunder, especially when you get D-shifted. Like, my play to getting Dimension Shifted was always just normal Pascalis, special Blue Tank and defense, choose not to send, and then make Kragan in defense position. And then I at least have an out to M-Pen, right? Yeah, he's honestly just such a good card. Love Kragan. Side deck very quickly. Again, I did say this was pretty much a big locals event. Like, I knew a lot of the players who were going to be there. So my side deck isn't really optimized for what this format has been, but more for, like, locals, right? So going over what I played was 1 Gamma Seal, because some people were talking about playing Buzzsaw Shark into Right Hand Shark into Crooked Cook, and I wanted an out for that. It also turned out there was a lot of Adagnister at this event, and turned out there was a lot of Marincess as well, so this card was great. Why is it Gamma Seal over Godarla? Essentially, if you summon Godarla to your opponent's side of the field in the Flunder matchup, you can't search Wave, which is like your real win condition against Fluandereeze. So I just opted to play Gamma Seal so that I could side a Kaiju and still search Wave. But I didn't really side this in the Flunder matchup at all. It was only there for certain decks. 2 Chalice. This card's insane. It's just a generically good go second card. Combos well with Forbidden Droplets as well, so that's nice. 3 Evenly Match, which was insanely clutch all day. Like, this card, it banished 3 Skill Drains one time, and it banished 3 Fog Blades another time, which is hilarious. This card was cracked. Like, I drew it like 4 or 5 times in my 16 rounds, and it just like won me those games, to be honest. Feather Duster, Double Twin Twister, some more generic back row hate. Like, you have the Evenlies, you have the 3 Evenlies, the Feather Duster, and the Double Twin Twister for back row hate. I expected a lot of back row, and it's what Marincess is really weak to, so I did opt to play just like more stuff for it. 3 Gozen, this is very obvious in Marincess. This card's insane. You're playing this in Marincess, especially because you have Stealth Kragan. I never went for the lock, but it is there. Gozen Master is just really good to not get like Kaiju'd or Lava Golemed or anything like that, and as well as lock people out the game. And I knew people were going to side deck for me, so I want a little bit of counter side, and it's 3 a pointer. Like, going into Power of the Elements, this card is actually one of the best side deck cards in my opinion, because so many tiers are on Lava Golem or Sphere mode, and it's like a really strong go second card right now, and I think people, especially initially early on in the format, are going to be on cards like that. So pointer is super strong for those, but at this event, I really thought people were going to side Kaiju's for me, and just like really good, powerful go second cards. And a pointer has always been one of my favorite side deck cards. And I really felt like it would work good at this event. And it won me like a few games, but I'm not sure it was like it that won me the game. I think my board was going to win anyways, but it's a very nice fail-safe for side deck cards and Kaijus and things of the like. So definitely worked out. And yeah, that was the profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely a shorter profile than normal, but you know, I did some talking at the beginning. Yeah, tell me what you think of the list down below. You know, this was sort of like one of my last hurrahs with Marincess, because I'll be playing a different deck into Power of the Elements, and we do have a regional coming up next week, which is super exciting. But yeah, all that being said, this has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, YouTube.